Hello, welcome to or welcome back to my channel. My name's Emily. I just started this recently and haven't had time to touch on books, one of my favorite things ever. I just hit my Goodreads goal, I think last week, which may seem low or may seem high depending on what kind of reader you are, but it was 24 books, which I'm pretty proud of. It's like a little more than halfway through the year and I hit my goal, which I'm proud of. I have to tell you it is a lie. I have read more than 24 books. Last week I read 5 books in 4 days. And I'm embarrassed for them in my Goodreads. So I thought, why not embarrass myself more and talk about everything that I've read this year, because I started off this year at a corporate job I was miserable at and leaned a lot towards fantasy and comfort series to get me through it. I've since quit. Don't you fret. I've quit and I'm out and alive. But yeah, I thought it'd be fun to go through everything that I read and if I recommend it or not. So I read 5 books in January, the first of which is called A Bakery in Paris by Amy K. Runyon. And this is a book I found off the new books shelves of my library. I have to admit, I do judge a book by its cover, and I was looking around for something pretty and beautiful, and I found this book, and it succeeded all my expectations. So it was about 2 women following their lives, one in the 1870s in Paris and the other post-World War II, and kind of following them through their non-traditional lives. They both were bakers or loved baking, and it just evoked something in me, just the way the author talked about their love and passion for baking. It seemed like such an art, which of course I already know it is, but to me, like, decorating is kind of the beauty of baking. So to see it so intricately described and lovingly described of how they baked all these things I've never heard of before was so fun to read. And there's also recipes in the book, which I really wish I tried. I think that would have been so much fun. But it was a fantastic book, seeing how both of their lives like intersect, which is cool, which I won't give anything away about any books today. Maybe a little bit. But I really loved A Bakery in Paris, and just seeing how like these women strayed from what society deemed acceptable for their lives, and how I was in like this not even 9 to 5, this 8 to 6, and hating my life and being like, maybe I can dream of a life that's better than this. So would highly recommend. Thought it was a great book. So the next book that I read in January was The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I do think I'm probably the last person in existence to read this book. I think it's been out for a while, but it was fantastic. The most recent other dark academia book that I've read was Bunny. Loved that. That book was insane. I read it about 2 years ago and it really set the bar high for my expectations, and I think The Secret History totally surpassed it. I loved the aesthetic, the unreliable narrator, the Latin, the mythology. Loved it. And reading a book like this, I'm always like, damn, there are some really smart people out there. I don't know if I'm one of them. When I was going through all the videos, like breaking down everything, man, I was like, wow, I need to take another AP Lit class. I was not dissecting this as well as I should have been. But yeah, definitely a phenomenal book. Can't believe I waited so long to read it. I loved it, would definitely recommend. So the next 3 books that I read in January were the Fourth Wing series. So Fourth Wing, absolutely loved. I initially got the books from the library and I read Fourth Wing I think 6 times, and I had an overdue charge because of how long I kept it. So if you were one of those people wanting the book and I had it, I apologize. So loved Fourth Wing. Iron Flame and Onyx Storm, I didn't love as much. I thought they were both good. I felt like Violet's character was so much stronger and more badass, more built out in Fourth Wing, so I was a little disappointed in the next 2, but still, they left on such a cliffhanger that I didn't actually end up rereading Iron Flame and Onyx Storm the way I did with Fourth Wing, because it gave me so much like anxiety and tension. I was like, I just can't wait to know what's next. So yeah, love that series. definitely would recommend. I do have mixed feelings because I didn't realize that it was a military romance, and I don't know how I feel about that. So, but it got me on the fantasy kick that I was on for a very long time. So, I'd say they're good. They're popular for a reason. Zane is so hot. It's like my dream man is tan with dark hair and dark eyes and sarcastic. If you ever meet a Latino man like that, please just send him my way. Okay, on to February. So in February, I also read 5 books, starting with Ruby Red series. It's by Kirsten Gier, and I found this as a child in middle school at my local library and was obsessed with it. I don't know if anyone else knows it. I think it was translated from German into English, and it's basically about this family who has this recessive time traveling gene that's passed down, and it's not like you can control it. You just get transported into time whenever your body wants to. So I thought that concept was crazy, so cool, not done before. And there's 3 books in it. Was one of my favorites. It's like lighthearted but has tension, good banner, romance, not too much. It was like just such a comforting read to read again. I thought it was very entertaining. One of my goals in life is to be raised like a little Renaissance child, like know all these languages, know all these skills and hobbies, and that's kind of what these characters have to be like to fit into any time period they get thrown into. So I thought that was so cool. If you're looking for a nice, easy read, I would definitely recommend the Ruby Red series. So the last 2 books that I read in February were Carval and Legendary. So 2 of the 3 books in the Carval series, and I was in love with these books. Stephanie Garber is a magician, a verbal magician, and the way she describes everything with like these beautiful colors, like everything is so enchanting, and I want to live in a Stephanie Garber world, please, or I want whatever she's on. I want to see the world through her eyes, like just so magical. I loved Carval. So Legendary I did not like as much. So it's about 2 sisters, the older sister Scarlett and the younger sister Donatella, and Scarlett was the main character of the first book and Donatella was the main character of the second book. And maybe it's just because I am an older sister, but seeing Donatella, the younger sister, be so unappreciative of all the things her sister did for her and being a brat, I wanna. So, yeah, there's that. But overall, I loved the books. It was a really good series, really good introduction into the Stephanie Garber world. So in March, I also read 5 books. I started out with Finale, which is the last book in the Carval series, and it was good. I liked it better than Legendary. Scarlett was more back in there. I loved her romance. I liked how she fit back in. She still felt like a background character, which pissed me off. But overall, it was a good book. Not as good as Carval, but good. So, highly recommend the series. But what I recommend even more is the series that follows, which I do think you need to read Carval first. It is Once Upon a Broken Heart. So good. The romance, Jax and Eva are next level, and it's one of those books that I just felt in such a hurry to finish. Like, I just couldn't read it fast enough. I couldn't consume it fast enough. And for that reason, I definitely need to reread it, because it's like one of those books, I know all of the things that happened, but I like don't remember what happened in which book. Like, there's definitely little holes because I was just like, I can't stop. But fantastic. Probably the best series I read this year. Again, with the Stephanie Garber magic, all the colors are just so perfectly described, and you're imagining it in your head. You're like, oh, it's like Candyland. Like, I want to be there. I loved the storyline, how everything like weaved together, all these different things you didn't think were connected. The tension, the romance, the characters are so entertaining. So yes, my biggest recommendation of the year is this Once Upon a Broken Heart series. So the last book that I read this month was Quicksilver. So I'd seen Quicksilver all over TikTok. I was like, why not? I'll read it. Sounds like what I would like. And I think it was a good book, but genuinely, like, I can't remember what it was about. I wanted to give myself minimal notes and looking up about what I read because I think if it stuck with me, then it was good. But if it didn't stick with me, like, maybe something's wrong. I think everything happened too fast in the book. Like, the romance, all of a sudden they were together. I was like, it's been how many pages? And the main character was, like, just magically good at everything. Like, something happened and then she actually knew how to do it because she was trained like that, but it was never even brought up prior. Like, it just felt like a little too perfect. Like, it feels like like when you're little trying to like insert yourself in a story or like daydream it and you're perfect and magical and good at everything. And I was like, that's not what I want in a story. That's what I want in my daydream. In the story, I want to hit rock bottom and come back up. But that's not what this was like. So Quicksilver was okay. Will I continue reading when the new books come out? Maybe. I don't know. Do I recommend it? So in April, I read 3 books. It's Fearless, Powerless, and Reckless, I think by Lauren Roberts. I didn't write it down. But I thought they were decent books. I thought it was very entertaining. I did read them very fast. But also there's like this weird feeling like I have read this book before. Like, I think it's Red Queen. Like, it feels very identical. Like, the plot twists, the character arcs. I feel bad because it was all over TikTok, but it felt a little strange to me. Like, it's a good fantasy book, don't get me wrong, but like, Fourth Wing was great, but also it was great because it was different, because like this military dragon thing hadn't really been explored. Caraval is obviously fantasy too, but it's so different from anything else I've read. But this just felt like way too similar to another book that I read. Of course, like, I can't prove that, but it gave me really mixed and weird feelings, so I don't know if I would recommend them. So in May, I read 4 books, starting with Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. The book was like heartaching in a way that I never ever want to experience ever again. I think the difference from beginning of the book Haymitch to end of the book Haymitch made me just so genuinely sad and upset. And it inspired me to read the rest of the books. I actually haven't read A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes yet, but I have to. I think I was just like kind of done because I was so sad. But like, comparing Katniss's games to Haymitch's, like, Haymitch was so much more tuned in, didn't have a mentor, have him back off, and obviously didn't have like that same level of trauma that Katniss had, and just like, it made me so upset. It was a really good book, but I don't think I'm ever gonna read it again. But if you want a book that's gonna make you cry and change how you look at everything you knew, I guess this would be a good book for you. Rereading The Hunger Games, Catching Fire, Mockingjay were great. They're books I read when I was in 5th grade, and then they were getting banned by our 5th grade English teacher because they weren't appropriate. So I love everything that Suzanne Collins writes, but dear God. I did get an Instagram ad to sign up to be an extra in Sunrise and the Reaping, so if I hear anything back, I'll let you guys know. So in June, I read 3 books, none of them parts of series. Wow. The first book being The Astrology House by Karen Jade. This is another book I found in the new book section. It was the first book I finished after quitting my job, so I was feeling great. I read this when I was in Mexico, and it was so good. If you're interested into astrology, occult, tarot things, like, you probably would enjoy this book. It's about this girl who runs an astrology retreat for wealthy people, and there's all these plot twists and someone dies, and it was pretty interesting. I liked it. Sometimes you can like guess how it's gonna end, but I did not predict how this was gonna end. So I really liked it. I would recommend it. So the second book I read in June was In the Garden of Monsters by Crystal King, and it is a modern Hades and Persephone retelling, which I thought was really interesting. I love a good Greek myth rewritten, so I was really into this one, but it really did throw me off. I was confused. It's about this girl somewhere in Italy. She doesn't remember any of her past, but gets invited to be a model for this famous painter. Was Dali, maybe? Yeah, I think it was Salvatore Dali. And I was like, how does this connect? I was confused. They're trying to get her to eat pomegranate seeds. So that obviously I knew how it connected. But it really was not what I was expecting. It threw me off. Obviously, like, not the way Sunrise on the Reaping did, but it made me feel like so weird and different after, but like in a good and unusual way. If you're looking for a weird kind of book, I would recommend this. But would I read it again personally? I don't know. I don't think so. So the last book that I read in June was The Full Moon Coffee Shop by Mai Mochizuki, and it was a really cute book. I really liked it. It also kind of fell into this astrology realm, but it's about this magical, elusive coffee shop that shows up sometimes and is ran by cats, and it helps people like get their lives together and get them on the right path going forward in the future. I thought it was really cool. Very peaceful. It's a Japanese book that was translated into English, and I read another similar book last year. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, but I think reading books from like really different cultures, just I love the vibe of it. I thought I like reading Japanese books and I need to do more of it. And if you've never read a book by a Japanese author, I think this could be a great book. It does talk about astrology as well, not as in-depth as the Astrology House, but a really cool, peaceful, calming book, which was great. Highly recommend it. So now we come to July. And last week when I read 5 books in 4 days, it was The Mortal Instruments by Cassandra Clare. And I had read this series back in middle school, another one of my middle school throwbacks. And I think I started seeing videos on TikTok about it. I had watched the movie the week before, because obviously the movie is way better than the TV show, and then I was inspired to read the books. They're good, but the incest line it grossed me out when I was a child. It still like grosses me out now, even though I know, but really, Ron and Ginny fanfic turned book. So they're good books. I really like them. I'm probably going to continue and read all of the Shadowhunter books and also not put them in my Goodreads. If you want to be friends on Goodreads, it's right here. But yeah, I think next I'm going to read The Infernal Devices, because those were my OG favorite. Then after The Last Hours, I haven't read anything from that one, and the Dark Artifacts series I'll read after that. So that's like a good 9 books that I'm just not gonna add to my Goodreads. So who knows actually how many books I'll read this year, because I'm not gonna update it correctly anywhere. But it's hard because like The Mortal Instruments I really loved, and there's this nostalgic element for me, but I could never recommend it to anyone that I love, because they'll be like, girl, this is what you're reading. And I'll be like, spoiler! I'm gonna spoil it. They're not siblings. And I'm gonna have to spoil it for anyone I talk to, because how else can I recommend it in good faith? So that was my 29 books I read this year, and if I recommend them, maybe I'll do another version of this at the end of the year, because I am part-time employed, starting to work for myself, and currently have a lot of free time. So that's good for me, good for us, more reading. So if you're new here, thank you for tuning in, and if you're a subscriber, one of my 199 friends, hopefully someone watching this can be lucky 200 because I've been on here a month and we've got to 200, so I'm really proud of that. So if you're here, thank you for being here. I appreciate you and I love you and I can't wait to see you again. Mwah.